Hey y'all, Monk Joseph here with the Broken Buddha. Today I want to start a new series, but before I do, I got to wrap up my old series, the S.O.S series, or Survivors of Schizophrenics. Um, I'll try to do this as quickly as possible. First, I would like to address any schizophrenics watching this, and then I will move on to the survivors of schizophrenics. So, personally, I am not diagnosed with any type or form of schizophrenia. I have been told that I have Asperger's and PTSD. And I was raised by two schizophrenics, is why I have delved into and tried to understand this information. I love both of them very much, but there's nothing else I can do other than that. So I'm gonna just dive right into it. So I don't personally think that I don't believe in the genetic predispositioning. I think everybody is capable of this thing. Typically, when somebody's brain gets thrown into an emergency state and their mind and body physically cannot handle it, they go into like a weird locked up state. Some people hallucinate, some people don't. And personally, I think it's due to an over sedentary lifestyle and over indoctrination. I mean, the, the majority of society could not benefit from you if you did not have this excessive indoctrination put into you. So that it is not, I don't want to say it's not entirely your fault that you ended up this way. You know, it's just a byproduct of society and sedentary lifestyle. Getting healthy does seem like it helps the ones that I was able to help get healthy. Beyond that, doctors aren't going to help you. The doctors can't help you for two reasons. One, schizophrenia has been narrowed down as a diagnosis to the point where if you're not hallucinating, they're going to say you're not schizophrenic. Personally, I don't think that has anything to do with schizophrenia. I'm not saying that's not an aspect, but to me, what I have noticed as schizophrenics, and everybody acts the exact same way. It's a two condition situation. One is known as oppositional defiancy disorder. A lot of times this gets misconstrued because the doctors don't know if you have good or bad parents, so they can't tell if you have oppositional defiancy disorder. And your parents aren't going to walk in and go, "Hey, I'm a piece of crap. You know, it's not oppositional defiancy disorder." So, but what that is when somebody has to do the bad thing or wrong thing. They are compelled to such a degree that they are incapable of making a choice. But again, that's an indoctrination, right? Um, the other side of it is intermittent explosive syndrome. And that's when your oppositional defiancy disorder gets so out of control that you can't contain yourself and you do something. Like if you've ever seen somebody start to get irritated and they do something completely irrational and explosive just to get you to change your train of thought or what you're trying to do to help them. So when I see, understand, and define schizophrenia, to be honest, it is slightly terrifying. You should be alarmed and scared when you see this. Um, some people think it's a joke. Some people don't. You know, you can see it all around you if you really look. But I will define schizophrenia right now as anybody who has oppositional defiancy disorder that regularly uh, becomes intermittent explosive syndrome. And I saw this a lot with both of my parents growing up. So that is the definitive outline of what it is in case you see it or in case you're experiencing it. I do think if you were to clean your fascia and internal viscera, it would alleviate lightly. It's not going to fix everything, but it'll give you a breath of fresh air so you can kind of like regather what you're experiencing and how you're perceiving it. Okay. And that's really all I have to say to the schizophrenics. I just want to let you know that I don't think there's anything wrong with you other than your sedentary lifestyle and society's over indoctrination of you, and you're not going to get help because they've redefined it. In my opinion, they redefined it to protect themselves. My last therapist used to go into these high energy states, and she's the one who told me that hallucination is a defining point of schizophrenia. But I think she's just trying to protect herself from realizing that she's schizophrenic. I mean, we'd be talking, and she would just jump into these super high energy states, and I'd be like, "What are you doing? What did I do?" And I would explain to her, and she'd be like, "Did I? I didn't notice." And it's like, yeah, so that's why I'm saying you're not going to get help. And I wasn't there to get help for that. I was there for other stuff. It was an accommodations thing for my Asperger's. So, and if you try to, I don't know if it's like this everywhere or just here in California, but if you try to talk to somebody of authority, you just get ghosted. I mean, I'm actually heading into some council member and council meetings for the city to try to get ahead of this for other people because I am on the more functional side of mental health issues. Okay. All right. So moving on from that to the survivors, it's not your fault either. Um, and the way that the schizophrenic mind works, there has to be someone to blame. And more specifically, if you upset a schizophrenic, this is how you tell also someone's schizophrenic. If you upset them, it is your fault. If they upset you, it is your fault. And I shouldn't laugh because it's not funny. It's a little denial response, but that is another one of the defining points. So it's a combination of the things, if you're seeing somebody who is incapable of not blaming others for everything that involves them, their feelings. Like if you make them feel bad, it's your fault. If they make you feel bad, it's your fault. Um, you know, it's a combination of that with and you'll see that's when you'll see the oppositional defiancy disorder turn into intermittent explosive syndrome. And that's, it's like it's just a spiraling effect. So anybody who has met a schizophrenic or survived a schizophrenic right now should be like, oh, okay. And guys, I'm sorry, but there's nothing you can do. This is just the way society is. This is just the way reality is. You need to get healthy and spend your own time trying to understand these things within yourself, within the people you experienced them from. Obviously, being in the situation I grew up in, I have met other people whose parents were also schizophrenic. For some reason, and I've also noticed this, schizophrenics tend to stick together because even though most of them know that they are fabricating the things that they're telling each other, they accept it because they know they both need it. And they'll get behind the other person's back and say stuff, but it's like it's very interesting to me to watch schizophrenics who can't get validation from anywhere else in society will just cling to each other. And some of those conversations are the craziest things I've ever heard humans say back and forth to each other that I'm not going to get into right now. But I really had to wrap this series up, man, because I was making this series when I was working with that therapist, which I did learn a lot from her. But I do fully believe that she has defined schizophrenia as not being as only being defined as hallucinations. And I'm pretty sure any doctor watching this is like, yeah, that chick's crazy. Um, so yeah, that's really it. Schizophrenics. I'm not going to sit here and say it's your fault. I'm not going to sit here and say it's genetic. For the survivors, it's definitely not your fault. You just survived a traumatic situation, and you need to realize that you are stronger. Like you feel broken down because of what they did to you, but at the same time, you survived schizophrenics. I mean, just watch the news. Watch some of these documentaries. Do you know how many people don't physically survive a schizophrenic? It's very common. And then psychologically, a lot of people end up on streets or on serious drugs because of this. So you survived. You should be proud of yourself. Now it's time to get healthy, and if you choose to, help others, but you don't have to. And, you know, you should focus on healing before you help others. And that's a mistake that I've made in the past. I mean, I've always, like I said, when you end up in the situations I am, growing up in Baltimore, surrounded by people that were, swept under the societal rug, you see a lot of things and you try to help people, and I did help people. But I should have been focusing on myself. I'm not regretting it, but I want you to focus on yourself and healing and surviving. And schizophrenics, I want you to focus on healing and surviving too. You don't have to live like this. You don't have to. I've seen a few of them now. I mean, I help my landlord sometimes, and I just cleaned out a bedroom that was literally a dumpster. I'm still finding. I mean, I'm still not done. I want to say there's about 30 to 40 gallons of urine in that room in bottles. He was, you know, storing urine in bottles. He didn't like to leave his room. I did try to talk to him. I did try to get him healthy, but you can only throw like a drop at him at a time, and you're still risking getting blown up at. But that's the reality. I mean, nobody wants to see somebody live in a room that looks like a dumpster full of urine bottles everywhere, man. Like that breaks my heart. I helped that guy find a place to stop being homeless. And I mean, he wasn't doing anything crazy. I mean, he was trying to get his life together when I found him being homeless. um but to watch him, that chapter end like that, I mean, he's out there somewhere out of his mind, either hopefully not living in a gutter, but if he's not living in a gutter, he's out manipulating, trying to get people to believe whatever he's telling them to get their validation so he can trick them. And I also realized that he had stolen like crazy amounts of things from me, but things that I don't look for or notice. Like it was something he was doing for himself. But that's the realities of a schizophrenic. I do think he was hallucinating, but some people who act like that don't hallucinate. So And another personal theory of this that you should be aware of is I personally think that our society is completely riddled with schizophrenics. Like maybe to the tune of half. I don't know. It's really crazy. When you if you really hear what I'm saying here and you look around, you'll see it. Um, Another one, I won't mention any names because there are people in popular culture that I know who do this, and you can see it. It's wild when you see it. When a schizophrenic makes a mistake, they will typically have to go back and make the exact same mistake intentionally to prove that they are in control, and they may even tell people that the first one was intentional too. So that's another one of those things that I've noticed is definitive of schizophrenics. Yeah, and that's I'm trying to think. I don't want to use any mainstream examples, but just watch the news. There is somebody. If anybody asks, I'll put it in the comments. But there is somebody in the mainstream news right now that is a very famous, not very famous, but a politician who is in control of the entire, a major part of our defense systems in this country. Who did this? He made a mistake, and then went back. And I don't think anybody else sees it this way, but he made a second equal mistake, um, and nobody's going to do anything about it. Like the media will talk about it, but nobody's going to hold this guy accountable or do anything. But he's just up there living his best schizophrenic life at the top of our society, in control of missiles and guns. Like that's terrifying. So that's what I mean by the society's riddled with schizophrenics, and there's nothing you can really do about it. So again, these are coming from the mind of somebody with Asperger's and PTSD. I have survived the majority of the byproduct of my PTSD, but I still have to be ever vigilant all the time about it. And really, having Asperger's to me just means I believe communication is used for information exchange, and nobody agrees, and it causes constant conflict in my life. Whatever. I'll keep doing what I do. I'll keep up with the channel. It is what it is. So that's all I have, guys. I will eventually probably kick back on to the S.O.S series, or Survivors of Schizophrenics. But this is the end of what I found in my research of running that series, talking to a therapist who I wasn't completely aware was schizophrenic until I understood the condition. And moving forward, like we just need to become one society again. Not everyone's like you, not everyone's like me, and the sooner you can accept that, the sooner you can learn from each other, and we can grow like as a whole. I'm not talking about some like utopia, nirvana, peaceful, perfect existence, but we should at least all be learning here. Less anger, less intermittent explosive syndrome, more learning. So wrapping up, schizophrenics, don't be so hard on yourselves. Survivors, you survive. Don't be so hard on yourselves, and let's all just try to grow together. All right, so thanks for stopping by. Check out the other videos on survivors of schizophrenia if you want to see what I'm talking about. But yeah, man, like we can do this, but it's whatever whatever miracles are out there is what it would take to put a dent in this. But thanks for stopping by. Peace and blessings.